Well, software as a service accelerator fund Upekkha has announced its first close of the $40 million accelerator fund at $15 million, and this was led by Westbridge Capital. It aims to raise that total $40 million by the end of FY25. Now, Upekkha, which was set up in 2017, currently works with more than 165 startups and has a 300-plus community of SaaS founders. The fund is looking to invest in 200 early-stage SaaS startups in total and as many as 70 this year itself. Joining me now to talk about this is its co-founder and managing partner, Prasanna Krishnamurthy. Prasanna, thanks very much for coming down to our studio to talk to us about this fund. Interesting name there, Upekkha. Tell us what it means.
Sure. It means perfect balance in Pali. So founders go through lots of ups and downs, right? Their life is like being on a surfboard on top of a wave. But if they're not in perfect balance in that moment and they keep thinking about the previous fall or the next wave, they won't make it. They won't be able to make the right decisions. Well,
quite interesting. Keeping that in mind, what is the investment strategy now that you have this accelerator fund? You've raised the first $15 million. What are you looking at?
Right. So I think, India SaaS is going to get to tens of billions of dollars in the next 10 years. We are in the very early innings of that game. And we aim to help domain expert founders, serial entrepreneurs who are getting into building B2B SaaS businesses for the global market so that they can earn in dollars but spend in rupees and get them on the ground floor and help them get that first 1, 2, 5, 10 customers globally.
So, you've raised this $15 million now. Yes. The remaining $25 million you're hoping to do by the end of the next financial year. Okay, do you already have, investors that have lined up? Could you close it before that? Do you have an option to perhaps go bigger than this $40 million that you're targeting?
Yeah, I wish we could close it soon so that I could go back to working with founders. I would love to do that. But, as you know, the market is a little slow. So we are trying to make sure that we are taking the right time to find the right investors who can stick with us for the long term. Because the very early stage investment game is a very long cycle game. It will take 10 years, 12 years, 14 years. So we need really patient LPs who will come with us for that journey. There are lots of folks who are ready to come in, but they're like, can you give a return in 8 years or 10 years? But that is not how it works in this game. It will take 12 years, 14 years.
Speaking of returns, the past couple of years clearly have not been the easiest.
Right.
Is the outlook getting better now?
See, ironically, right, Warren Buffett says, buy low, sell high.
One hopes to.
One hopes to. But if you see what's been happening in the market in the last, in 21 and 22, people were buying at insane prices. Right? And then now, when prices have moderated, people are not ready to buy. So what we are trying to do is we want to be very steady in our investment pace. And whether it's last year or this year, we want to do a good number of investments. Because this year, founders actually need that support. And they're coming into the market at a very fair price. And if we get in at a fair price now, by the time the next bull run comes in 5 years or 7 years, then the markup is good and we get a fair exit as well. So we're hoping to be a little contrarian and do more investments this year when everybody else is sitting on the sidelines.
But what is the return number that you're promising to your investors when you're going out to raise these funds?
So I'm not allowed to promise a return to our investors. But if you look at the Bloom report that I think you've seen, a 20+% IRR is what VCs have provided in the past, and we'll hope to be in the same range.
Given that this is early stage investment, what's the average ticket size that you're writing for each of these checks?
Sure. So we're doing a standard check of 125K. Because we do a cohort model. It's a batch model. So we take a certain number of startups in the same stage in a batch and invest in them at the same amount. So $125,000 for 7% of equity.
So you are in your 13th cohort now.
That's right.
Could you give us some details about how many startups you'd be looking to fund with this $125,000 each that you're preparing to write for them?
Absolutely. So with this fund, once we've raised the full 40 million, we should be investing in about 200 startups. And this year we expect to invest in about 70 startups.
So any names you could share with us? Who are these 70 lucky companies that are getting the money from Upekkha?
I can't share those names right now. Happy to do that a little later. But essentially, most people would not have heard of these startups because these are not B2C. These are very boring B2B companies that nobody would have heard of.
Well, I hope they're not hearing you say that. But, before we let you go, we're starting a new calendar year.
Sure.
There was about $11 billion of funding that was raised by startups last year. Seems like a decent number, but it was almost 75% lesser than what we saw the year before. So, this funding winter, all of these themes that have started to play out, do you think it'll continue going into 2024, or what will you as an investor watch out for?
Yeah, I think, the common adage is that when the US coughs, the rest of the world catches a cold.
Yes.
It looks like the US is recovering and recovering well.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that will then sink into the rest of the world. Our markets per se have not been doing badly at all. We're at record highs both in the Nifty here and in the US.
Yeah.
So my belief is that towards the second half of the year, consumer confidence in the US will go up, spending will go up, businesses spending on software will start going up. Okay. And then that will start driving more founders to deliver revenues, which will then start delivering in terms of investments.
But any major themes that you'd be watching out for? I know you're very focused on SaaS, but anything that looks exciting overall?
Yeah, I think so. AI as an enabler for SaaS is going to become very powerful. Okay. It's not exactly clear how today. AI will help different types of SaaS companies deliver that value. But founders obviously are working really hard to figure out all the ways that are possible to do that. Some will fail, some will succeed. Yeah. But that, I think, is going to be the theme. India will become the AI capital of the world. We'll have more AI developers than anywhere else.
Okay, thank you very much for being here in our studio. It was a pleasure speaking with you, Prasanna.
Pleasure speaking with you as well.
Thank you. And on that note, it's back to you guys in the studio.
Well, that was Upekkha's founder being bullish on the fact that India will become the AI leader of the world. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Startup